So it's lesson 10, Intro to Web Programming. Today we're going to look at doing file uploads, which is something we'll need to do in our assignment. So what we want to do is add the ability to upload a logo when we're both adding and editing a restaurant in our Barry Eats site. And so we're just going to talk briefly about this process of how file uploads work. So there's a lot of different reasons why we might upload files. For example, in Blackboard, that's how you submit. You might submit assignments. That's how I upload documents to Blackboard. Something like a Facebook photo gallery. We can upload files if we're on YouTube. Obviously, we can upload videos. So we're basically allowing users to take a file that's local on their file system and transfer it from their machine up to the web server so that it can be accessed from within a web application. Even something like an attachment in a webmail interface like Hotmail or Gmail would be an example of where we're uploading files to a server. So how does this actually work? We have to do a couple of things on our form. The first thing is we need to add this attribute, encoding type equals multi-part form data. So far, when we've been building forms, we've just been setting the method, typically as post, and the action, which is the page that receives the form post. We haven't set any other attributes. What this encoding type does is it actually converts any file uploads to a binary format, and then that binary format can be transferred to the server where the file is then recreated in its native format. If we forget this encoding type multi-part form data attribute in our form, we won't get any errors, but no files will get uploaded. Also within our form, we need for every single file upload we want to allow, we want to use an input with type equals file. This will allow users to browse their local file system to find a file they want to upload. So that's sort of the form end of things. Here's what happens on the server side once we've submitted a form that includes a file upload. So the way PHP works is it will automatically save that file into a temporary location, but it won't stay there forever. Once the file's in the temporary location, we can inspect it. So we can check things like the file name, the type. There's a kind of a right and a wrong way to do this. How big the file is, because we may have restrictions. And then this temp name, this will give us the temporary location of the file. So typically before we want to put this in a permanent directory, we want to check that we got the right file type. So for example, if we're YouTube and we're allowing video uploads, we don't want someone to upload a Word document. We also may want to check restrictions on the file, that it's not too big and it's not too small. And we may also want to generate a unique name. So we have some different ways that we can do this. If we don't generate a unique name for a file, the default behavior with PHP is a file upload will just overwrite any existing file with the same name. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use the session object. And the session object has a unique session ID. And we can include that session ID in every file upload. So if two users at the same time upload a file with the same name, each file name will include the user's unique session ID. Then the last thing we do is we'll use PHP's move uploaded file method. And what this will do is take the file out of its temporary cached location and store it in the directory we want to save it in. Okay? So that's kind of the process we're going to go through, and I may refer back to these slides as we go today. So we'll just look at our Barry Eats site for a minute. We'll get a sense of what we're doing here. Here are our restaurants. And if I log in to the site, when I go to add a restaurant, we want a browse button here that allows us to upload, as well as if we go to edit, we want to see any existing logo and then have the ability to modify that if we choose. So this is where we're going. We're going to do a very simple file upload first, just to see the mechanics of it, and then we'll connect it up to our Barry Eats site in a little bit. So I've started up my XAMPP server, and I'm just going to make a new kind of a test file. I'm going to make a new PHP file, which I will call upload test. Ultimately, this file won't be part of the site. I will add it to Git. Here, I'm just going to create a simple form with our method of post. Our action will be upload save. Called upload test. We'll just put two things on here. We'll put our input name equals test file. Our ID is test file. The important part is our type, which is going to equal file. Button is upload. If we look in the browser of our form, what we get a browse button, and I can click on a file and click upload. We get a 404 error, as we should. Now, the one other thing we need here is we need this encoding type attribute that will do our conversion to binary of the file we're uploading. So inside of my form tag, I'm also going to add enc type and multi-part /form -data. So here's my completed form. Just go back and refresh my browser, and then we can see the encoding type's been added. So now we want to build our upload test save where we can inspect this file. So I'll just right-click my upload test save and choose generate. I'll just make this new file. I guess I'll make a new PHP file called upload test save. Lots of PHP tags here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the uploaded file. Okay. File name. File size. Display. The temp location. And cache. We'll start here. We'll come back and we'll deal with the file type in a minute. To get the uploaded file, I'll just create a variable file. We're going to use the files collection. We're going to use this before. So instead of post, we're using files collection, and we are referring to our test file. So we want to just print out the name of the file to the screen. So our file variable is actually an array that has a list of properties, and the first one we're interested in is in file name. So to test this out, I will go back, I will browse to a file on my computer. I can pick any photo. Open, and it gives me the name of the file. If I browse to a different file, it gives me the name of that file, including the extension. It will access the file size. We're going to print that out as well. So if I refresh and resend my form submission, you'll notice the file size is in bytes, not kilobytes. So this file is about 85 kilobytes. Kilobyte is 1,024 bytes. So if we're checking file size, we need to make sure that we are checking the value in bytes, not in kilobytes. The next thing we want to check is our temporary location of the file. We're going to access a property called TMP name, temporary location of our file. Same format. We've got to put the name, the size. Now we want the TMP name. So I'll just resend. And this is where it sets it in my XAMPP directory. Inside of a temp folder, it gives it a temporary name and extension. Now you'll notice if I refresh this and resend, the file, temporary file name changes, even though it's the exact same file I'm uploading again and again. So every file upload will go to a unique place in cache. And I believe this file will stay in this folder with this name. I believe it's 20 minutes. And after that, the file's automatically deleted. So we need to save it to our permanent location before that. Now let's look at the file type. There's a simple way to do this, but I'm going to show you this first. I'm going to show you a better way. So we can go to file type. See what this gives us. My file is a JPEG. So if I refresh, it tells me it's an image / JPEG is the actual type it's saying. Now, sometimes this behaves a little differently in Internet Explorer. So I'm using Firefox. You're going to try this in Internet Explorer. Oops, I'll go to my upload tab. Browse to the same file. We'll get my enchiladas. So it does show as image JPEG for both. Now, this isn't the best way to test, and here's why. I'm going to show you what happens. I'm going to go back to my directory where we've been creating these files. And in here, I'm going to make a text file. I'm going to make a new text document, call it abc.txt. I'm going to open it up and put in some text. You don't have to do this, but this is just so you understand the limitations of using that file type property. I'm going to save my file. I'm going to go back and browse to my ABC file instead. Here's my text document, I'll upload. And it tells me the type is different. It's a text plain, which is correct. Here's the problem. So my file is actually a text document. If I go to my Windows directory, and let's say I rename this, it looks like it's an image file, but it's actually a text file. Watch what happens when I try it again now. So I pick my abc.jpg, upload. So this code assumes, based on my extension, that my file is actually an image, even though the file is a text document that I've renamed with an image extension. So using this type property, this doesn't really do what we need because it's only checking the file extension. It's not actually checking the proper content type. So we're going to replace this. Here's how we're going to do it properly. I create a variable called finfo, which stands short for file info. We're going to use the finfo open. So this is PHP's finfo is a class that gives us information about files. What we want is file info get the right property here. File info mime type. So we're going to use this finfo mime type, and that should tell us the actual type of file, not based on the extension, but based on the actual mime content type. So then here, instead of just outputting this, I'm going to output this instead. I don't think it likes the syntax very much, so we're going to have to do it this way. We'll have to concatenate. We're going to use a finfo object and call the finfo function. Sorry, finfo file. This will give us the actual content type of this file that's sitting in the temporary location. So now I'm going to try this again, first with the real JPEG and then with my fake JPEG. If I browse and pick my enchiladas, it tells me this is an image JPEG, which is correct. But if I browse and pick my JPEG that I've tried to fake, ABC, that's actually a text file, now it knows that the actual content type is text plain. So we're going to use the finfo class with finfo open and finfo file to actually tell us the proper name of the file. And the last thing we want to do is save the file. So in here, I'm just going to make a new folder, new directory, which I will call uploads. We may have to enable some permissions, and ultimately we want to save the file in here. So we're going to call the method move uploaded file. It takes two parameters. Where is the file currently, and where do we want to save it to permanently? So the file right now is in the temporary location, and we want to save it to the uploads, and then we'll append on file name. So we're going to keep the original name, save it to the uploads directory. So let's see what happens when we try this now. Back up pick an actual JPEG file. And upload. So now if we go to our Barry Eats directory, I look in uploads, we can see my file has been copied here. Now, if you do this on AWS, I'm just going to log in. It works locally, but oftentimes on the web server, we actually have to enable a permission. In my Barry Eats, if I create an uploads folder, I'm going to put up the two files I've made today, and we'll try it online as well. Upload test and upload save. I'm going to go to my upload test. We'll try my. I'm going to try uploading. Now, notice here I get a permission denied. The reason is on AWS, on most web servers, when we create this folder, it doesn't allow a script from a web page to actually write new files here. So when I go in here and refresh, there's no enchiladas JPEG. So we're going to fix that. What we need to do in FileZilla is right-click on this uploads folder and click on File Permissions. So the default permission, notice public permissions, write is not enabled. So I want to check that, which changes, or just change this value from 755 to 757. And I'm going to click recurse into subdirectories, meaning if there's any subfolders here, they'll also get these write permissions. I'm going to click OK. And now I should be able to try my upload again if I just refresh and resubmit. Now notice my error goes away. So now we can look in our uploads folder. Now it doesn't show the file. It's weird, there's no error. But if I just refresh, we can see here's my enchiladas file. Now if I upload another file with this same name, it's actually going to overwrite it. So notice the timestamp. This is 8:20. So this is just the clock on the server. If I do a refresh here, notice another temporary location. And now notice the original file at 8:20 is gone, and this file from 8:21 appears. So what we want to do now is we want to include these features into our Barry Eats database. Okay. So I'm going to open up my database. I'll run my use command, and I want to restaurants. So here is our table. So what we need to do is we want to run a command, which I will also post to Blackboard, that adds a logo column to the table, so then we can upload the restaurant logos. Alter table command, column logo, 100 characters, and it can be null. So pretty simple script. I will paste this onto Blackboard for you. I'm also just going to execute it. So it's altered my table successfully. Now if I look at the table, I have null values here. So I'll just quickly throw that onto the board for you. Here's our code, alter table restaurants, add column logo, varchar 100. You'll need to run that script in MySQL Workbench. It's going to point out there's a quick PHP file upload demo tutorial here from another site. I just linked to it. You can have a look at that. So the other thing I want you to do is grab this file. This is a zip file. This is restaurant logos to download for today's lesson. So I want you to download and extract that file. And in there, you will find these logos, which I've downloaded, sized them kind of all to be the same size. And we can add them. So then we're going to go to our restaurant page. We're going to close some things up here. Okay. So I want to go to my restaurant form, and we want to add the ability to upload an existing logo. So in my form, the first thing we need is we need to add the encoding type. With the encoding type, no file gets uploaded. I'll just show you this here. I'll just go back to my test room. And if I take this encoding type out of my test form and try the test form one more time, browse, I can pick a file. But notice our test file is empty. Nothing was included when I remove this encoding type. As soon as I put it back, select, make sure my file is selected again, and upload, and then it can recognize and copy my files. So we need our encoding type, and then down before our save button, we want another field. We're going to have a label, logo, and we're going to have an input type equals file, name equals logo, and ID equals logo. We've added 85 to 88, which will give us a label and a file upload control above our save button. So in our browser, if I go back to add a restaurant, we now have a browse button here. Okay. If I'm editing, we have it as well. So we're going to be able to, we want to be able to save the logo, and then we're also going to display it. If there is a logo, we'll display it here as well. We'll add the display to the end. We've got to get the file upload working. Okay. So that's all we need to do on our form. We added the encoding type, multi-part form data, and we added this field set with a label and an input type equals file. So now we need to go to our save page, and we need to check if, in fact, we got a file uploaded. So we're going to leave this code. And it's really only, we really only have to deal with this stuff if OK is true. If there's other validation problems, we don't have to worry about trying to process the file upload. So before we connect to our database, actually, sorry, we should do it here, because if they've uploaded an invalid file type, that should be part of our validation errors. So we will check invalidate logo. we're going to check here. All right, so if is set files logo, if there was a value in the files collection called logo, we'll create a variable called logo, which we probably need to initialize. Sorry. File equals so logo. Could do it this way. The only challenge with this is this will mean that any files, two people upload a file called logo, the second upload is going to override the first one. So instead, what we want to do is we want to use session ID to generate a unique name. What we'll do is, we don't need to call session start because that's already called in our header. So in this case, we'll name our file this way. On the session ID method, we'll append on the dash. This way, if two, so this is a built-in method, just like session start to the PHP library. This way, we'll generate a unique ID at the front and then a dash and then the file name at the end. So if two users upload a file with the same name, this will prevent that file from being overwritten. So that's going to be our name. So we want to make sure users uploading an image here. We're not going to worry too much about the size, but we want to make sure that they're giving us a valid name. So here's what we're going to do. We'll create a type variable. We'll just set it to null initially. The user finfo. File type equal to file information this will give us the file type. So we want to check for JPEGs and PNGs. The file type is neither image JPEG nor image PNG. We want to show an error message and say OK is false. File type is not image JPEG. And PNG, we probably want to put each of these conditions in brackets. This condition is false. This condition is false. tell the user to upload that one, and we'll set OK, false. If we do have a JPEG or PNG, we want to save the file. So in this case, we want to save this to an images directory. We don't have an images directory, so I'm going to create one. I'm going to create a new local directory called images. Shows MG short. And I'll do the same on the server if we're uploading. And Barry eats. We'll create a new directory called IMG, and we need to see the same permissions. You're going to right click, file permissions. I'll just set this to 757. Say recurse into subdirectories. So this is where we want the logos to go. Okay. So now we want to save the file. So in this case, we're going to call move uploaded file. We are moving our logo file name. We're moving it to IMG. And logo is our session ID with our unique name. So this will actually save the file where we need it to go. We now need to insert or update that logo. We're going to have to modify our SQL and add a parameter for it. I'm just going to go to the top. And I'm just going to initialize the logo variable equal to null. So if there's no file uploaded, our logo just stays as null. So now I'm going to modify our insert and our update. Add logo here. Logo parameter here. Same in our update, logo equals colon logo and then space. Bind a logo parameter, our logo variable. String parameter, we set 100 characters. So this should work for both inserting and updating now. So what I'm going to do, first try on an update. I'm going to edit my last class. I'm going to browse. We'll go into our restaurant logos, and we're going to grab the TLC image, save, see what happens. Well, we didn't get an error, so that's good. Let's go back here and now run our query. And notice it shows my TLC PNG with a session ID, will be unique to each browser session, in front of it. So now I'm going to try with adding a new restaurant as well. I'll just go and add. I'm going to delete this one. I'll just pick any logo here, which I can delete in a minute. Let's grab a photo and save. And if I rerun my query, you'll notice it works for inserting as well as for updating. So I'm going to delete this restaurant, an image, and then I'll manually update all the other ones, and then we want to be able to display them. Delete this. Go to my IMG directory. We'll get rid of this. So notice I've got the same session ID because I'm using the same Firefox browser window. If I go and upload from a different browser, I'll have a different session ID. You can actually try that here. Use my Internet Explorer window and log in over here. Good thing I saved my password in my browser. I don't remember it. Okay, I'm going to just continue on. So if I go to Smokes, and browse, we can pick the Smokes logo, save, and now I've got my Smokes logo. Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to display, if there is a logo, we want to display it here. So, be underneath, I'm going to use an offset of 1 to put it right underneath. And in here, a little PHP script that says is set logo variable, which we'll have to populate from above. If it's set, we're going to echo image tag, source being img. I need to escape this one as well. So we just need to populate our logo variable when we're selecting restaurant. Move up to the top. I'll initialize. We'll go to null. And now when we're selecting, we also want to set logo to our logo variable. So initialize it as null. We're populating it from our query result. And then we're checking if we have any logo. We're going to display it in an image tag. Let's have a look and see if we need to change this. So if I go into the last class, okay, we didn't get it quite right, so let's see why not. Oh, I'm just missing a slash here. And I think the slash was the wrong way. We'll just check it out. There we go. So this slash, this is a path, so it's a forward slash. So now if I go back to my list and look at Smokes, I get the logo. But if I look anywhere else, it doesn't show. Then I can start adding the rest of my logos. So I can add my Boonburger logo. Save. I can add my Wimpy's logo. So for each one of these, if we look in our database again, here's all the logos populated. And if we wanted, we could even display them here in our table. We wanted a mini version, maybe on our restaurant page. Sorry, restaurant on our main page. Maybe after type. If we wanted to, we could show the logo. So I'll just add in here B. And here we'd have image source equals img, and then our logo. We probably want to wrap this in an if statement as well. I'm actually going to wrap this in an if statement. PD happens no matter what. If set. So if we have a logo, let's display it. And we'll maybe add the height parameter here. And then the restaurant page looks like this. If we add a restaurant, put a logo, that's okay. Okay, nothing here, so we need to look at this. So we left it blank, so we do have to change one thing here. We're missing a piece of logic here. So this value is being returned as true. So what we need to check is if the file is empty, is not empty. Size is greater than 0. And then we're going to do all this stuff. If the logo file size is 0, no logo was uploaded. So we'll just save that again. So again, I've got no logo. So it just saves it without a logo in this case. So in your assignment, whatever table you've created in assignment 1, you need to figure out how we're going to incorporate the ability to upload an image along with each record, both when we're adding as well as when we're editing. And both the edit page as well as your list should display the images that are uploaded. That's all for today's lesson.